Hey there, little buddies, and welcome to yet another edition of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast. In this episode, we discuss Chapter 4 of the FX original series, Legion. I'm Mothman, and I'm joined by the constant air of paranoia to my otherwise grounded existence, Nate Man. What's going on?
You make me feel so special.
I try.
You really do. You really do. Hey, I figure, okay, so here's what I figure. You guys have cool names. You're Mothman, right? You got Foxman, all right? And those are all animals that have some tie to your name, so I have to pick an animal that begins with the letter N, of which there are 10, I have found. There are only 10. And
the only letter that there's less animals named after is Z.
Probably so. Yeah. That's probably true. Q, N is not a lot, and I don't know most of these animals. Narwhal is one, so I could be Narwhal Man. I could be Newt Man, Newt Man. Or what I figure, and this makes me sound like a secret agent, I could be Nightjar, because Nightjar is also my Harry Potter Patronus, according to Pottermore.com.
Oh, okay. So it works on so many levels. None of them
spirit
cool,
animal, man.
But so many levels.
Nightjar. Now, interesting tidbit, Nightjars, the bird, also called goat suckers. Not even a lie.
So you are a goat sucker man.
Goat sucker narwhal newt man.
Yeah. What's with all this animal talk, man? Like, is something bothering you? I'm
just feeling wild. Oh, okay. No, nothing's bothering me. My dog is fine.
Oh God. So we had this planned bit that we just somehow just didn't get to, and it involved Nathan being like super serious and bumming everyone out, and me simply telling him that we need to be funnier. This all stems from some great feedback we got on Twitter about us not yucking it up enough, which I think is valid. You know, we sometimes get a little bit into the weeds with all the weirdness that is a show. But my response was, I think, fairly appropriate, which was, I'm going to tell Nathan how to be funnier, or something like that.
I can tell a joke.
Yeah, no, you can. But your idea was to then just drag everyone down with a fake story about your dog.
The other day, my dog started shitting blood, and it was...
come on, man.
It was something. Oh, no? Is that not funny?
Yeah, that's not funny. Anyway, why don't you introduce us to our first segment, Nathan?
Our first segment is going to be... Summon it up in a tweet.
Oh yeah, we're summon it up, so summon it up. Summon it up, oh yeah, we're summon it up. Oh yeah, we're summon it up, so summon it up. Summon it up and up. Tweet.
All right, mine, as is becoming common, is a rhyme. So I got David's mind, damn good time, sock it to the eye one more time. Hashtag Frizzy Top.
Hashtag Frizzy Top. Okay.
Frizzy Top. Yeah.
All right.
My favorite little story from the episode.
I think that's a pretty good one. Let me see. I had like two here. Okay. This is the one I kind of landed on. Once again, I'm not happy with it, but I'm going to share it nonetheless.
Yeah. Sure.
And this one does not rhyme.
Okay, that's fine.
A scuba trek to the ice cube. Work through your trauma to discover what's real. Let Jemaine soothe you with beat poetry while you find yourself.
That's good. Fine. That is good. So you're getting psychological.
A little bit. So that was Summon It Up in a Tweet.
Nice. Summon it up in a tweet.
Summon it up in a tweet.
It's what plays in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those scenes with the scenes with Jemaine Clement, man, those are super cool to me.
It kicks off with him, and you asked me at work, you're like, do you know who's in this episode? I won't spoil it. Like, just watch the first scene, let me know if you know. And I did watch the first scene, and immediately I was like, I did see his name in the credits at some point, but I completely forgot, and it was completely, ultimately a surprise. And what a weird character, and what is otherwise just a very weird episode.
I dig it. I dig that level of weird. So here's my thing. And I come from a theater background, right? So there's something to me about like one dude sitting in a chair, staring into the camera or at some other object and just talking for a couple minutes. Yeah. That just gives me a theater boner, right? Because that's all it was in theaters. Like you'd go perform a monologue and for 5 minutes you had to pretend like you were, yelling at the, the angsty, professor who is telling you that you'll never go anywhere in life or whatever the character is. And you're like yelling at a wall. So like there's that scene a few episodes ago where David is in the therapist's office. And I remember I noted on the show, like I really dig his performance there. And I think I'm realizing it's just because it was just sort of him in a chair sitting and just sort of like being antsy and talking. And you got the same thing here. And I love Jemaine Clement. So when it opens on his face, I was like, I didn't know this was about to happen.
Yeah.
And then you just get a 4-minute monologue that I wish I was still in high school so I could like perform in, theater class.
Oh my goodness. I should have made you learn it and then perform it as a segment on the show.
Oh man. Maybe I still will.
And then added a layer of funniness by asking you to do it as like a celebrity.
Oh, and then okay, all right. So
like
my impressions are not good.
So, for example,
Sure.
if it was like Sylvester Stallone, which is one of the few I can kind of do, there's a line that I wrote down from one of his poems that was just ridiculous, which is wives and the avocados, babies and the tomatoes.
And that's your Sylvester Stallone doing your Oliver Anthony Bird, correct?
Is that the character's name?
That's the character. It's Oliver Anthony. Yeah, that's what he's. So there's a point where he says there's two kinds of stories we tell our children. The one is Frizzy Top the rabbit who goes on an adventure and blah, blah, blah. What is it? It's Frizzy Top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frizzy Top, right. And he goes on an adventure, he meets a setback, but he overcomes it with, cuteness and whatever. So
yeah, it's the empathy story versus the fear story.
Yeah, versus fear, which his example is Oliver Anthony Bird. If you get too close to the ocean, you'll be sucked into the sea and drowned. And it's like that's him, that's like his mother telling him that as a child, which instilled fear into him. So he's kind of recanting that as a child. That's what I got out of that.
But
also Bird is Melanie's last name. I kind of think that dude's Melanie's husband.
Okay. So his name is Oliver Anthony Bird. Yeah, Oliver. I mean that
as confirmed by IMDb, by the way.
Okay, so
yeah,
I mean that's kind of the thing to tear apart for this episode is where does he actually go? It's like on this subatomic level. Yeah, it is ice driven. Melanie is obviously throughout the episode. Towards the second half they show this. She is kind of consoling someone in an old school Scoob outfit in a room that's just filled with ice. Meanwhile, we then see him take that off. So there's obviously this connection there, right?
Right. Oh, totally. And he's like staring at it at the end, right? And during like his last scene, where that like cool. I don't know who sings that song that is in the montage sequence at the end, but he's like staring at it in the corner. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with that.
Yeah, that's a Feist song.
Oh, it's a Feist song.
Yeah.
No, I don't know very much. I only know 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's the only Feist song I know.
Yeah, she had that Apple commercial. She has a lot of really cool things, and it's such a cool song because it does change pretty drastically stylistically. It starts with just like guitar and kind of like a fragile voice, and by the time things pick up and you're seeing what's going on with each part of the story, it is like really kicking in and driving and stomping and just tearing stuff up.
I thought that made for a very cool montage sequence that ended in like action. It was super cool. But yeah, so the scene in the ice, and obviously David's there too. So I think what we're learning in this is there's something more to where David is when he's got off in his like dreamland kind of. It's more than just his memory. He's truly being taken somewhere to another plane of existence or something like that, or projecting himself into somewhere else, which is interesting. I don't know what of it is shared with other people. Like if Jemaine Clement's character, if that truly was like another real person, well, somehow he and David have both found themselves in the same place for whatever reason.
But you kind of dig in a little more to like the nature of his powers. And really, I mean, so we've talked about this in the past. The whole series so far is kind of continues to make you ask questions and not know it's real and question reality. And you as an audience are basically trying to assess that and figure things out. I remember first podcast, we were just talking about what would be considered a timeline. And like, him and Lenny, that would be pre-prison, all this, or mental institution, all this good stuff. Yep. But it's interesting to now have the main plot of an episode be his gang, like the friends that kind of surround him, also trying to do the same thing and decide like what are the actual memories, what's real, what's implanted, what are these glitches.
And it's getting more and more confusing. because even David is concerned about what's real and what isn't. And I like that everyone's trying to figure that out. Things are kind of coming to make a little bit more sense to me, I think.
Yeah, it's becoming more linear and like solidified.
Yeah. Like you make sense of at any given time, okay, we're with David and he's in this sort of weird green room and Lenny's there. Like, what's happening? This obviously isn't a memory. Cool. We've got that down. He can exist in places that have other real people, a la Oliver Bird. So, okay, we got that down. You know, to me, I think what's happening a lot is, you know, that we referenced this monster, the monster with the green eyes or yellow eyes.
Yeah, demon with the yellow eyes.
The demon with the yellow eyes a lot throughout the episode. And what it seems like is that he's sort of creating a reality that he's forcing David sort of into. The scene with Lenny at the end felt very like it was surrounded by green and sort of slimy and weird. And it felt like something that may have been created by that character, and that that monster might be, you know, sort of projecting himself as Lenny or something like that.
Maybe I missed those references. You're saying they mentioned that in this episode, the devil with the yellow eyes?
Yeah, he's in the he's the monster that's being referred to by Jemaine Clement's character, because you see in the frozen room when he's saying "Don't go out there, the monster will get you." You see, I'm pretty sure you see the demon with the yellow eyes like in the wall behind.
Oh, because I was going to ask you, like, did you ever see him in the episode? Because I thought he was missing, and I remember having him continue to refer to a monster, but I also wasn't sure if that. I mean, I guess now that we're talking about it, I put two and two together. I took it as his inner demons, which that is like his actual inner demon.
Yeah.
But also, I took kind of the monster outside more as like, how do you control? Almost just the power is the demon, like, and how do you kind of harness it, and all the external stuff going on with his sister being trapped and the eye. Like, I guess at the end of the day, there's numerous monsters, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah.
But
no, but and I just found that I'm on it. There's a scene where, and it's super subtle now that I look at it. But yeah, when he's being talked to in the ice room, there's a ice wall next to David, and in the reflection of it, you can see the demon with the yellow eyes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the more important point to kind of take home throughout these scenes is it just me, or did like the look and CGI of him walking through that land just look terrible?
Yeah, you get that. Like, to me, I almost write that off as, it's TV, because I still have not come to expect the same out of television, even good television. I still don't expect the same as I do from like a high budget movie, you know?
I mean, I would agree there. Like, I think to an extent there's some, like, okay, they don't have the same budget, but the whole thing was obviously just green screen. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It reminded me more of, there's a movie that was on Netflix for a while. It was super over the top 80s kind of like joke movie. And then David Hasselhoff did like a music video for it.
I don't remember this at all.
But the whole thing was shot in front of green screens. Like, it was like a college film project. It just has that look. And when they pulled off such other stylistic like feats with the budget they have, I don't know. It didn't ruin it for me, but it definitely felt like a very, very different tone. It actually reminded me of, did you ever see the movie Gentlemen Broncos?
No, but Jemaine Clement was in that too, right?
Yeah, and it's like the second movie, I think, from the Napoleon Dynamite movie. But there's kind of these weird fantasy scenes that are like very, I guess, reminiscent of this, of all things.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, did
that
take you out of it?
No, because I'm looking at it now, and it didn't take me out of it, but I see exactly what you're saying. Like, it very much looks fake. I can see the set around him.
The worst piece being when he climbs the like chain ladder.
Absolutely.
That is the one that really bothered me.
Yeah, but something about, I mean, the show is so surreal that to me it feels so fake. But that just seems it's because like everything around him seems fake.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's cheese. I think the problem is that it's too cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they put like an 8mm, like 16mm film grain over it, and then like an Instagram filter, I would have been okay with it.
Right. Just really commit. Like,
really
seriously.
commit to it. Well, I think that's the issue. Like, I think if it looked, actually, we might have just landed on it. What I think bothers me most about it is the fact that this whole film kind of takes place in the 60s, 70s era and looks like that. And this looks like CGI. and like 90s CGI. So if they did
Yeah, so it
commit a
just
little
takes you out of
bit
it.
more towards that, I think it would have fit better.
Yep. I can buy that. I'm with you on that.
The other, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to talk about, but the other thing that I thought was pretty interesting, and I wonder if this is going to be the end of it, but like they really explain what's going on with Carrie and Carrie.
Man, that's so weird because when we just almost talked over each other, that was the thing I was going to say too. Look at us.
You're the Carrie to my Carrie.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Yeah, we'll let the audience decide who's with the K and who's
Which one's
with the C.
which? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be the little native girl.
Fine. You're the one that's always doing the fun stuff and having all the action. Meanwhile, I'm just like kind of doing a VR experience from home as you do it and living vicariously through you.
Through a surrogate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we do. But you're right. I wonder if that's going to be the end of it. I think that if here, so essentially what happens, spoilers, is that the girl version of Carrie, the girl that lives inside the man Carrie, dies, right? Or rather gets shot and presumably dies. And thusly Carrie, the man, miles away, also seems to die. And if that is the case, I'm sure we'll get some sort of eulogy for him next episode. But I mean, if they're implying that the damage that one takes affects the other, then I don't know how he could live through that. I mean, that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I mean, this is the first episode you really get to dig into it. So she reveals kind of how, the origin and like how he just started seeing this other girl and realizing it was power, and then you see her kind of come out from underneath them, and they just show that they're intrinsically connected. And Sid starts to ask about like, are you happy? What's that relationship like? Is it awkward? And she's like, well, no, it's not awkward. Like, he does kind of these intellectual pursuits and I do the action stuff, and we kind of fulfill each other and make each other happy. And that's kind of just the preamble to, her getting shot as she's trying to, save the day. They don't 100% show her die, but they kind of imply it. Yeah. And you're also not, I mean, I'm assuming he's also actually hurt, but it also could simply be, kind of like super realistic VR. Like, he's reacting to it because it seems so real, but it may not actually biologically be doing anything. Like, I could also see him gasping and waking up next episode and like sobbing because she's dead. But it not actually killing him.
It seems like if she lives inside of him, like sort of like a biological thing, like she is like a piece of him, right? Like almost like an organ of his that is just its own living entity that leaves sometimes, And so like, I wonder if that's sort of how they'll treat it. I don't know.
Or if it's like part of the persona, and now he almost becomes this unmanageable. I mean, I guess you've kind of seen their personalities, but maybe he can just become unhinged, source of drama for the series, like him just missing that other side of him, it being more of a mental state.
Yep. It was something. So this doesn't really have to do with the Carrie thing, but it happens during that scene. I was trying in any way to figure out the artistic strategy behind when they switch aspect ratios in the show. And I've come across a very important, I think, distinction. There is no discernible pattern. It doesn't make any sense. They just do it sometimes.
So it's not always when it's an action going on?
Nope. It's not necessarily, not always when it's an action. It's not always when it's a memory. It's nothing like that. There's literally, so the Carrie flashback scene begins that way. And then we fade back into the future as girl Carrie is telling the story in the future, and we're still in the wide aspect ratio. And then she goes back into the flashback, and we flip to normal 16:9. Yeah, so it's like, I think it's just sort of a way. I don't think they want you to notice, like, in a way. I think it's a visual change, right? They want you to realize you're somewhere else, and every time the aspect ratio changes, you're somewhere else. It's kind of like a pull you into the moment type thing. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's a super cool way of playing with a medium that like isn't normally played with that way, is to say you are now in a different scene, and you know that you're in a different scene because something's different. Even if you can't articulate that the aspect ratio has changed, you can say, oh, well, sure, it feels different. There's something about it.
I think that makes sense.
I love that.
I think stylistically, this is one of the things that makes the show so fun for me. And ultimately, even though I was bitching about the look of the CGI, and I still think it pulled me out of it, I also almost wouldn't have it any other way than the fact that it's a show that will try those things and just kind of have that fun. Because I just think it opens itself up to be a very experimental and fun show. And you look at the fact that it is a big property in that it's X-Men, but they're using like a minuscule character. They don't really have any of these chains tying them down, yet at the same time they have all the support of people wanting to see superhero related stuff, people that just like the shows that are on FX, people that like Fargo. So I think it's nice to have a show that's getting solid ratings and has a lot of people watching it, but also is going to be weird and expose people. I didn't read the article, so I can't speak to its merits, but I saw a headline the other day because we now have Twin Peaks, return impending, and I love Twin Peaks. And Twin Peaks is one of those early like live action dramas that was just weird and pushed boundaries. And the headline was something along the lines of, "Do we really need Twin Peaks now that TV is just already so weird?"
Right. Yeah.
And I thought of a show like this as kind of case in point.
A new version.
Not even a new version, just so experimental and fun and like not formulaic or tied down. Like these are exciting things that are happening with mainstream, big budgeted television that would have been like, public access, weird stuff that was almost unwatchable 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, at the time that Twin Peaks came out, it was revolutionary because it kind of pioneered something, and it's no longer pioneering anything. So,
and hopefully it will, right? But
sure.
The idea though is that like we're already kind of seeing the fruits of its labor. It's not necessarily like going to be as relevant or grounded. So it'll remain to be seen. I do feel at this point probably a good time for an audible break.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then we'll be right back.
Hey there, little buddies. Mothman here. This may be the last audible ad I ever get to do. I made a terrible mistake, and I'm afraid I can never take it back. I listened to the Necronomicon by H.P. Lovecraft on Audible. I just wanted a few scares. I just wanted to have a good time, but instead, I unleashed something terrible and beyond the realm of human comprehension. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to my sanity. It seems as if there's only a thread left. Please, tell my family I love them, and whatever you do, for the love of all reality as we know it, do not go to audibletrial.com/Boob Tube Buddies and try it free for 30 days, or you too might come across this terrible book and lose all that you hold dear. I can't even bring myself to say my catchphrase because I just don't know if I'll see you next time, little buddies.
All right, and we are back. So at this point, I'm kind of waiting for a few people to respond back. So I'm going to throw to some silence in case we have an interview.
Hi, Marcus. My name is Nathan. I'm excited to tell you about my thoughts on religion.
Elevator music. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And maybe we're back from something, or maybe just some music played. I do want to tell you a very funny story, Nathan, about getting interviews.
All right, please do.
So we just put an ad on Reddit just to get people that are on the subreddits involved and like have a piece, and we're just kind of all nerding out about it. Anyway, on the Reddits, we get all kinds of different responses, and we got this one person who essentially wanted to do it, even asked about some gear and stuff, and I was excited, just trying to line up a date, and then it was just the funniest response in the world, and I'm not going to name names, I'm not trying to like start beef, I just thought it was hilarious. Is that the answer became like, hey, I'm just like way too busy these days, so I'm not going to do the interview, but I do have a website and this, that, and the other, and if you just want to like talk about it, that would be really cool.
All right.
Which was just like, what? No, like we're having an interview, and part of it is you just get to say. Anyway, I just thought it was a really funny response. It was kind of like, I just thought of like a very Donald Trump art of the deal type maneuver. Right. Just like you go in with a bargain, then you basically just back out of the deal, but get nothing but gains.
Yeah, sorry, I can no longer do the part that's difficult, but you still give me all the reward for having done it? That sort of thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, fantastic.
At the same time, it also just may have been like poor communication. That's the one thing I do hate about email and text and those things, especially with people you don't actually talk to on the regular. You don't kind of have a feel for their speech patterns, as you're like, maybe I'm completely misreading it, and now I'm just going to come off as an asshole. But I don't worry about being an asshole, right?
Well, did we get his website at all? Can we direct people? I think it's goatsuckers.com.
Yeah, it's goats. Oh god, I love that you're a goat sucker, man. At this point, that was my favorite new thing. Anyway, why don't you walk us through Amy and the Doctor?
Did you say Amy? And oh my god, I need you. Do you know what my brain just did? You don't. You wouldn't.
Why would I know what your brain did? That's the most ridiculous question.
If any other listeners, this had to have freaked out about half our viewership. I promise you, when you just asked me to walk you through Amy and the Doctor.
Okay.
The Doctor is from Doctor Who. Amy Pond is one of his companions, which these is like two main characters of the show that you just basically said. And also tonight, Tabitha and I just watched the finale of that show, which is the weirdest thing. We finished watching that and I came over and I recorded. We just watched the last episode that included the character Amy and the Doctor. And I walk over here and you asked me to talk to you about Amy and the Doctor. And I was going to be like, I mean, it was really sad. Like, she's gone and, she got sucked back in time.
Spoiler alert for anyone.
She'll never.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Anyways. So that freaked me out. Anyways, Amy and the Doctor, meaning Amy, David's sister, and the Doctor, David's doctor, who, according to the psych ward, no longer exists.
And they find themselves, I mean, she's in prison. She's being given food and she's just like absolutely rabid. Yep. But I guess this is the first time she's like audibly yelled at the situation and thrown stuff, because they kind of have this cool zoom out where you see there's two cells like back to back adjacent to each other.
Yes, which I liked. Couldn't tell if they were implying that one of the walls was glass, because they could tell when somebody walked by the two rooms.
I think they were.
And it's like they looked. Yeah, I think one of the walls is like transparent. But she was super hungry, man. Like when they gave her that food, it's like they haven't given her food in days. Like they've got to be feeding this woman at least daily.
But I feel like she's also wasn't that hungry because she threw half of it away.
Well, that's a good point too.
Like, she's like ravenous and just like,
and then just gave up on
stuffing her face, and then the rage takes over, and she's like, I can't live with myself. I'm eating from these cretins, and throws it. And that's when the Doctor tells her, and the Doctor's like, let's whisper, even though we're whispering through like a concrete wall, and we have to do it really loud. I also feel like if that wall really is glass, the times are a little bit delayed. When like that guy walked by and they like really awkwardly rearranged themselves in front of him.
Yeah, if I were that dude, I would have seen that. I would have just been like, hey guys, like, I saw that, right? Like I watched you guys like get into weird positions and pretend like you're not in the same corner of the rooms together talking to each other.
A little bit. But ultimately, I mean, I guess all that we really grasp out of this is the fact that whoever these third parties are, they don't seem to just be cold-hearted killers.
They are keeping them alive for a reason, right? At minimum, like if they don't just want to kill them, like they need them. I'm not positive they wouldn't kill them if it came down to it.
Yeah, I
feel like they just need these two people alive, like bait. They're bait.
I guess they are bait. I don't think David cares about the Doctor all that much. I mean, I guess we just don't know. I think his sister's more the bait. Maybe the reasoning for the Doctor is simply to gain more and more insight into the like nature of David as they try to kind of harness his powers.
That would make sense. They're trying to learn more about him, so they want to hear about what did David tell you and that sort of thing. Oh man, this thing with the dog that comes out in scenes like that is very interesting too, because David consistently talks about this dog he had named King that used to follow him around everywhere, and then according to his sister, David never had a dog. They never had a dog at all.
Yeah, it's like there's all these personalities he's seeing that haven't been there, and you're getting more and more insight as to which ones are real and which ones aren't. But for every time you do get one, it's kind of a surprise. You wonder how many other people aren't real either. So you also get context about Benny and Lenny. Lenny is Aubrey Plaza, who he continues to interact with, and who's ultimately dead, but Lenny doesn't seem to have ever really existed. It's always just been Benny.
Well, yeah. So here's what I'm almost certainly certain.
Almost certainly certain of. Okay, let's hear it.
Almost certainly certain. The character that Aubrey Plaza plays, that is well kept, right, has straight sort of hair, wears these overalls, you know, this sort of good-looking version of Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey
Because that's
Plaza.
different
That's
than...
his perfect vision of him after she's died.
No. It is the demon with the yellow eyes. Just is. I'm almost positive of that. I believe that is the demon with the yellow eyes taking a form that David will trust. Because literally in the end, when she's talking to him in that room that's like green, she smiles at him, and then her face fades into a face of the demon with the yellow eyes, which is the second time you see the demon in this episode. And then the last frame of this episode is her creeping up behind his right shoulder.
And she has that hand.
Right? And her hand is, exactly. And she has sort of the creepy hand. So I'm almost positive that this version of Lenny is actually the demon with the yellow eyes. I think Lenny did exist. I think that was a person in the mental institution that he met.
So that makes sense, but I guess where my mind was going with it is ultimately he has all kinds of constructs in his mind that aren't real. So ever since Lenny actually died, she was inadvertently killed, he's now still been seeing and interacting with her, but always in this state where she's cleaned up. And whether that's the entire time been the demon with yellow eyes simply trying to like play the long game and trick him, or is it simply just the fact that the demon with the yellow eyes is winning and now starting to take over another just personality he has? Like, has it been there the whole time? Is it
that could be it too, sure.
Is it the inner struggle that's happening now as he's trying to kind of fight off these things and maybe he's losing? Maybe this is the demon taking different tactics because David's getting more in control of his power. There's a lot of, I guess suffice it to say, none of it's 100% like clear. They keep giving you enough to keep you entrenched and enjoying it. And wanting more.
He had a friend named Benny.
Yes.
Right. Like we know he had a friend named Benny, and then that keeps in his memories getting confused for Lenny, and whether that's his own confusion, whether that's, the demon trying to impart himself into memories of David to make those memories more vivid, like something like that, or whether it's just straight up, the sort of esoterica of memory, which is sort of described in this as like, memory's not perfect. Human memory changes over time. Things aren't always the way that they were in your memory. So that could also be an element of it as well. I think that clarification, the fact that Lenny was not in, pre mental institution life of his, clarifies something, one of our conversations from last week. Then it also, like you said, it gives you just enough that it makes you want to keep going and find out more.
Yes. The question I have too, because we'll talk about all like the climax scenes now, right? Well, like one, we find out about Benny, and he's never really known Lenny, but Lenny is basically doing all the same stuff that Benny was, just in a female body. So you just ask yourself, is this just a kind of delusion he's strapped onto a real person that was there the whole time and just kind of saw his own version of the person, but it was very much just hinged on the actual interactions that happened. And then once that person was gone, like it kind of extended, and that's what we're talking about now. And then, the dog piece as well, you just kind of continue to get led into the different constructs he's making. So I don't think there's anything more kind of like to tear apart there other than that's continuing to happen. We also have some action scenes here. The one thing I don't know if we've fully seen the extent of the eye's powers, but I guess he's bulletproof.
No.
Or bullets can't go through him.
Yeah.
Because during that like scene where all the guns are going off, he just stands up and walks. Meanwhile, like, it's pretty risky right now.
Yeah, they don't show him get shot. So it's not like a Luke Cage type thing where it's like, we're going to show you this guy's powers by literally throwing bullets into his chest. I just think the bullets
were going through him. Like, is he really there?
Were they? Oh, right. That's another good thing, is that he obviously has the ability to see these projection-based things. He may not have... Well, no, his body was physically there because he switches bodies with Sid.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm saying as part of his power is just to be, like, intangible.
No, that could make sense. Yeah,
because we've also talked about how no one else would interact with him in characters. Like, in earlier scenes, you thought he wasn't even real. So is he this, like, almost this person with Spectre-like powers, but also very much does exist and can become tangible?
Yeah.
Because we've not given much into the nature of his stuff. He does touch... I don't know his actual name. I call him Potomac, but he does touch the...
It's Patanomy.
Who's kind of engineering the memories and really trying to go in and deep dive with everyone's memories, which reveals some interesting things. The doctor, the fact that he's like beating the shit out of his doctor, and we're not sure why or like what set him off. You're getting a lot of interesting stuff throughout the story of Ptonomy, but Ptonomy touches the eye and his eye glazes over.
Yes, so he sort of because and does the eye have one glazed over eye? He did in earlier episodes, right?
I think so. I think he does.
He doesn't. Yeah, so he sort of does whatever to Ptonomy that is sort of going on with him. Yeah, so I don't know what the implications of that are. Ptonomy falls down and we don't see him for the rest of the episode. It's kind of all we know.
Yeah, right. I mean that is pretty much all we know at that point. I did think, the going back and acknowledging the glitches and tarnished pieces of memory, the stuff that we've also been struggling as an audience. That's kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning. It's just interesting to see the gang in the same position the audience is in, and they continue to dive in. The other piece I really liked is that Sid is essentially questioning, are they not just in his illusion still? And they don't really sell you on the idea that they aren't, because she sees little Hitler twice.
Because I wondered about that. So I wondered if like her mentioning that was just sort of a clever nod to the writers about like what would generally be considered an obvious twist, which is like, oh, the whole time you were actually just in David's memory. Like if that does wind up being it, it's kind of like, okay, well, I've seen that story before. The whole thing was a dream type story, right?
I don't think it'll be everything is a dream. I think it'll be like part of last episode was it, you know what I mean? Like I think it'll be a pretty small piece.
That's a fair point. But you're right. She does see little Hitler, which again is that second time that she sees something that it appears that other people don't. And I'm still wondering if this is fallout from her time as David or not, or if there's some other connection she has to him that just others don't.
I mean, it's likely we will have a better feeling if it is tied to the switcheroo, because another one happens this episode, and we'll likely be seeing the kind of drawn out half-life, I guess, of the power happening with the eye and her going forward, if that's just how it works, in which case that will make sense that she's still seeing these flashes from David.
Yep. Another interesting point, it appears, this could be wrong, but when Sid touches hands with the eye, they show both of their eyes really quickly, as if they're switching, bodies. But the eyes, the eye's right eye, looks like it almost fogs in a way.
Yeah, the best I remember that. It almost looked like a little smoke went away. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. And it's sort of the most articulate way of saying
that.
Very
it's almost like they're implying his power set is represented by something going on with his eye. Like, I wonder if now that Ptonomy has those memories, if he'll have some part of it. Like, you're just not sure. I will also say that David, because there's so many other things going on, David, to me, just didn't seem to have that many talking parts. Like, he seemed actually kind of minor. Yeah.
He didn't. Well, and I thought that was kind of cool, honestly, because like last episode ends with David stuck alone in what you believe to be his own mind. And you're like, okay, so that implies next episode is just what's going on with David. But really it wound up being like, what are his friends or gang going to do to try to help him, And he wind up on this whole other side sort of X-Men mission, that you've got going on with these, essentially, mutants who have powers that are, very different. And I kind of like that the powers that we're exploring here with these mutants are not as super powery, they're just sort of like weird things.
Yeah, and
a
lot of them are inconveniences. Like, I love how Jemaine Clement, like, obviously, like, he's not Iceman, but he's kind of Iceman. Like, the only thing,
right? Just because it's so like
the only thing he can't get rid of is the ice.
Is the ice? It's in the beginning, him pouring the ice cube out of his whiskey glass. To me, it was very funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, outside of that, we do see David kind of at the end there. I love that you get to see him trying to use his powers, right? Like early on, like making motions, kind of very superhero stuff that's not working.
Like what he thinks it should be. Yeah, it's Tobey Maguire on top of a building trying to shoot a web at
exactly. At the end, though, he's I think trying to get a little more in tune with himself and make it happen. But it just kind of, and I liked it, but it just kind of came off as like a Dragon Ball Z charge up scene. It was like a minute straight of quick cuts and flashes and shaky camera as he just goes, like, which it was weird to see that in live action because that's straight up what they were doing.
Yep. That's really, really funny. Yeah, I like that moment as well. altogether, I thought this episode was weird.
Sure.
For sure. But I like that every episode I feel like we're progressing the story in a tangible way.
What was Jemaine Clement's character's name again?
It was Oliver Bird.
You've seen Flight of the Conchords, right? Okay, there's that whole episode, Bowie to Bowie.
Right.
And so I just David to Olivia Birdmont. What is it again? His name Oliver.
Oliver Bird.
What,
David to Oliver.
I thought
Bird.
you said he had 3 names. Oliver Anthony.
Oh,
okay,
Bird.
that is So okay, David to Oliver Bird. We don't need to do all 3. That'd be overkill.
You do that, pretty well. I will say you do the New Zealand Bowie Flight of the Conchords voice.
Man, my other Flight of the Conchords voice, which isn't that great, but okay, let's do. Oh God, let's see if I can get it. Mary here. Let's do roll call, eh? Here's my favorite character.
Right, you know what? Not
Jemaine. Jemaine, you have to say here. Yeah, you have to say here. Okay. Brent.
good. Brit.
Okay. All right. So we got it anyway. That's me doing Murray from Flight of the Conchords.
Good job. I would try to do a Murray scene, but I would just be embarrassed. I'm proud that you are happy to do impressions. One episode here soon, I'm sure I'll be forced to do some sort of impression.
We're gonna make it happen. But if you don't have anything else, I would say subscribe to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, all that good stuff. We love hearing from you. If you do tweet at us, we will likely mention you in the show. We absolutely listen to your feedback. Case in point, this episode was definitely at least 10% funnier than last episode. So anyway, we appreciate it. Hey, Nathan, do you want to tie a bow in this bitch?
I'm going to tie a bow on this bitch. You ready?
I am.
You ready for some serious bow bitching?
Yeah, you know it.
See you next time, little buddies.
Oh, God, nailed it.